Do you know what the speed limit is?
I do know what the speed limit is.
Okay.
It may have been exceeded a few times.
You came rock. I told Pat, I'm like, he's gonna rock through this door like Kramer from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. So that's exactly what I heard. You fly down the stairs, just all heels on those steps, huh?
Yes, sir.
No brakes.
No,
there it
right.
is. I think I got. Oh yeah, one more. I gotta do the Instagram thing. Go live. Look at me remembering stuff.
Oh boy.
We're not live on the call. I didn't do the call thing today, so we'll just do our own thing.
Yeah.
This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. Never pass on shooter bucks, because that's just meat in the freezer. It's your tag, you hunt how you want. This is Okayest Hunter.
Well, I'm going to skip the music today because I just don't feel like it. So I don't know what our audience thinks of that. And speaking of our audience, anyone that listens to this show weekly, bi-weekly, semi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, every now and again, annually, I don't know. Thank you, everybody that listens, because the numbers are there. I see that people listen. We get comments, we get DMs, we get messages. People share stuff with us, and we do our best to respond to everybody with a meaningful reply. But just in case we don't, I wanted to take a second right now to say thank you for listening to our show. It really does mean a lot. We've been doing this for a while now, about 5 years under this particular brand of Okayest Hunter.
Yeah.
And it's important. We enjoy it. We have a lot of fun, but I think we have an important message. And if it wasn't for people listening, it wouldn't matter. So just wanted to share some appreciation.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
And check out the other shows on our network too. There's quite a few of them. So they're all a lot of fun, especially right now, this particular time of year. Check out Turkey Season by Paul Campbell. That is a really cool show. We're doing some turkey stuff content shows here, but it's not like Pat's show. So, or wait.
You just gave it away.
That my brain is Paul. It's the P's that did it for me right there.
Yeah.
We do have a guest on. I'll bring him in just a moment. Pat is our guest. Oh, just don't pat me on the back because I'm doing a terrible job. We're brought to you by Nosler. Go to nosler.com. Be sure to use code OHP for 20% off, whether you're getting the Varmageddon, the trophy grade, the whitetail country. There should be something for pretty much everybody over there for all your needs. They even have, I was showing off the book, the reloading book, which I was like, I've been talking about reloading for like, you don't know this probably, but like, I actually, we might know this because I've sent you a lot of text messages about reloading gear through like RCBS.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had.
And I have some bits and pieces of an RCBS press in my basement, but I just haven't stepped off the edge to want to dabble in it because, let's be honest, it's an investment.
It's a deep hobby.
It's a very big investment. I just don't want to play with that right now.
What about a bow press? That's a different topic.
Yeah, that's another one for another day.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Our other partner, Bear, we see the sign back here. We don't probably talk about Bear enough, but I did mention last week we're working on a giveaway, and it's going to be large, and large in terms of the amount of work that has to go into get it off the ground.
Okay.
And large in terms of like, certainly the dollar value of what we're going to give away, the types of things we're going to give away, and what we expect for participation across like all of our partners, brand friendlies, and everyone that listens. So stay tuned. You should learn more end of June, certainly by after the 4th of July is when we're looking to kick things off. So a lot of work to go into that. We'll also have more information about Foam Fest right around the corner here in the beginning part of May. So stand by there as well. Yeah, lots of work to do over here at Okayest Hunter. Believe it or not, there's tons to do.
Just when you thought you were done with show season, you got Foam Fest coming.
Yeah, and we have help. So we're going to be co-hosting that with BHA Wisconsin chapter. Like they are right in it with us, helping plan. So it should go a little bit smoother. We should have things done a little bit faster because some of their people are pretty darn smart. So like Alec Becker's over there is going to be helping out quite a bit, which is greatly appreciated. So those are some of the housekeeping items. If you haven't already, as a listener, looked at our partners in any capacity, highly recommend it. Rack Hub's great for displaying your memories. We have Gerber as a partner. We're working on, for the giveaway, by the way, some a very limited run of OKS Hunter knives from Gerber. So I've seen the branding, I've seen it, the 3D CAD mock-up. They're pretty neat, and they're one of a kind. And we're only going to have like 6 total, 3 of each. So that'll be an exclusive thing. So if you get your hands on one of those, you'll be one of 6 people to have that. Looking forward to that to come to fruition as well. And we're going to be using a ton of Gerber stuff at Turkey Camp, as you may have noticed.
Mm-hmm.
They have a whole camping like cookware collection that is pretty robust, and I'm like pretty jazzed about it. So lots to check out there. And Latitude, though not seasonally relevant at the moment, you can always be practicing. So like getting a platform this time of year is actually not a terrible idea. 3D archery season is upon us. You know, all the TAC events are going on, though I don't think you're getting a saddle at TAC. It is just a reminder that this is a great time of year to be shooting your bow. So get your bear, get your Latitude stuff, like go practice and have some fun. That being said, let's bring our guest on. We got Pat Newcomb with Nukem Hunting Blinds on the show. Nukem Hunting Blinds and Pat Newcomb's last name, those sound the same. They're spelled differently. And I just wanted to call that out because, Pat, when I first met you, I was like, oh, so your last name's spelled with a Nukem, huh? Really?
I remember that.
And you're like, no, dude, it's Newcomb, like Newcomb. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I see what you did there. Play on words. I'm pretty gullible. But
yes, we actually pronounce it the same way. It's just Newcomb. I don't know why, but kind of growing up, I had a nickname that was Nuke Bomb, kind of all through football and sports. So I always knew I wanted to do a spinoff of it, so I decided to do it with the blinds.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, there's a lot to talk about here, I think. I mean, you have this, before I ever met you, your reputation is just like, Pat is this great dude. I'm going to flatter the shit out of you right now and stroke your ego, even if you don't have one. He's just the most salt of the earth, down to earth, good guy. And we got to hang out at ATA a little bit with our buddy Glenn, and I really enjoyed our conversation. You are someone I think that like is a really good listener, and you ask great questions, and questions that would signal that you're genuinely interested in learning more about someone. And I value that because that's not common. Like, I don't know what values you grew up with, but you got some good ones. So that's my intro of you. I don't know if you, how did you get into the blinds? I know you're an entrepreneur. You have a tree service business. Like, how did this all come to fruition?
So first off, thanks for having me. And that is a great compliment. I appreciate it. And that's the Southern boy in me, I think, is you learn to listen and be respectful. To answer your question about how I got into the hunting blinds, I grew up hunting from a young age with my dad and my brothers, and I started turkey hunting when I was 11, and that was more of the chase than whitetail hunting because you're, on the move. And kind of into my teenage years, I realized there was a gap in the market. There wasn't something that I wanted as far as a blind, because I don't like the 4-sided with a roof to be mobile because you got to carry chairs and do all that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't my style. So it was kind of one of those things, trial and error. You take what the market gives you, which at that time wasn't a lot. There wasn't the 2-sided, 3-sided blinds that there is today. And it was just kind of trial and error, and you start creating and making and designing, and next thing you know, it kind of fell into what it is today. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was an accident that I designed it, but it was an accident that we got some of the features out of it that we did.
I mean, happy accidents are great. Who's the dude that said that? That painter guy?
I don't know.
You remember the painter guy? We call that a happy accident right there. Paint and we just keep going. And he was like, got the soothing voice. I remember that as a kid. I don't know why you guys remember that, but I know you're not that young to not remember. Maybe you're too old to remember.
No, I'm not too old.
So the features that you do have, though, are interesting. We were talking before we got to recording, and you're asking about, like, do you hunt, higher up in a chair or low to the ground? And your blinds can accommodate this like wide array of hunting styles. And for those that don't know, like, the fact that there isn't a roof and 4 sides, what you got? Who is it? What's his name?
That's the guy.
Darn it. Bob. It's like Bob something.
Yeah, it's Bob.
Darn it. Anyway. Greg's distracting me now. He's bringing up the picture of the thing I just...
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. Damn it. There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
You can shape these things like a teepee really high up and tight, or you can like bring the sides down and it continues to form to the ground. So if you're lower, like just talk about some of the mechanics of it, because it is a grab and go, quick setup, quick tear down, ridiculously quick. I've seen the videos on social that you've been posting.
Ideal. It's very ideal. And there's other, like you said, there was happy little accidents along the way that it has other purposes aside from just being front end cover. So take it away.
Yeah, so I'll go through it real quick for you if you'd like. For those of you that don't know, or if you take a TP and split it from the top center down, you're left with half of that. It's two-sided. So we consider it more of a screen out in front of you than your traditional hunting blind. You want to push it out in front of you so you can shoot off the sides or through the windows. And what it's doing is, because you can adjust the height of the blind based on the width, it's really blocking you from the face down. So it allows you a lot of extra movement. And I don't care. People tell me all the time, I don't need that. I sit still. And I'm not sitting here telling you that everybody has to have a blind in front of them. But there is a need for anything at some point. And as we get further into that, I can kind of touch on some points of when you really would like to have it versus, some of the guys that say they don't need it. And then next thing they know, they stumble across it and they want to have it.
I can just tell you that there's been plenty of times I didn't have it and wish I would have had it when I literally am back up to a tree, no front cover, and I've got hens walking and picking at my bootlaces. I can't move. Like there's no, and the gobbler's 20 yards away staring at me. I can't do anything about it. So you get yourself in enough situations where you don't have any front end cover to be able to move just enough to pick your gun up, or, or if you have it ready and you just need to just move left or right a little bit to line up on a shot, you need some front end cover. And
I even got in a situation the other day on a hunt that I've never used a blind before for this situation. As I was in a field and I was actually sitting waiting on this bird because I knew I was kind of patterning him. I'd been fighting him all day. I'd chase him around this farm. I said, you know what? I know he's coming back to this field and I'm going to get him when he does. And he ended up getting with a hen and following this hen around. And he didn't care what I was throwing at him. He was paying me zero attention. And I had a big tripod with me, my shotgun, and I'm wearing a vest. And I was sitting in the middle of a 40-acre field with no trees around me, just behind the blind, because I knew which direction, at least I thought the birds were coming from. And it actually ended up being a hunt where I butt scooted across the field towards this bird at full strut. And I just picked the blind up and I'd set it down and I'd grab my camera and I'd set it down, then I'd butt scoot and grab the gun and go with me. And I actually ended up doing that within 40 yards of the bird and ended up harvesting that turkey that night. So I'm still learning new things that you can get away with the blind as well.
It's like a camouflage reaping scenario. You're not reaping it with a fan. No. You're doing it with the blinds. He's like, that bush just moved? Huh, guess not. Just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. That bush just moved.
I was surprised by it, but yeah. So when we designed it, I wanted something lightweight that you could set up anywhere. And the way it's designed, when you widen it out, the lower the windows go, the wider you take it. So the regular size, because we have two sizes, you can sit on the ground with it to like your low profile seats. And the XL allows the hunter to sit up in a chair, or you can spread it out down to the ground. And we started the company with just one blind, and the market very quickly came to us for a taller version. And that's why we ended up going with an XL model. So we meet the need for any kind of hunters. You can do a one pole breakdown. You can roll it up and you're on the go. Or it comes in a carry bag that's just 3 pounds, and it's similar to like a folding chair. And you can take it from the carrying bag to a full setup once you've done it a few times in 20 or 30 seconds. So no matter how you hunt, it's lightweight, it's easy to set up, and you can get away with a lot with them.
I know when I have one from you, and it's like when I got it, I immediately set up my living room, right? Because that's just what we do as outdoorsmen. You get a new ice fishing shanty, you set up near a garage or living room because you just got to play with your new toys. My kids were like, this is the coolest thing in the world. They were like starting to play like army dude things. The boys are shooting each other, using it as a shield. So just just having it in the home was pretty fun. But bringing kids into a blind is probably one of the biggest eye-opening events that's happened in recent time for me when I was up north with a buddy hunting out of a blind, and he had one of those like pop-up blinds where the sides are kind of see-through from the inside out. Um, but the teardown setup, though not terrible, certainly not as fast and nimble as what you have. And then come the chairs, but the concealment of the kids was quite incredible because little boys do not sit still. Like they can't. It's not in their DNA. And if you want to bring your kid with, I think having a blind is a really good idea. Having your blind is just less stuff to carry because if you're already carrying decoys, your gun, your kid's gun, whatever you have for your kid because they have snacks and stuff, so you got to pack. Like those bigger blinds are bulky, heavy, and kind of obnoxious. Plus, then you got the chairs. Unless you're hunting private land and you have like a UAV of some sort or a side by side, for me, I hunt public land. If I'm bringing my kids, I want to have as little as possible to bring out. Having yours break down to that one stick, kind of one pole modality, I think that's the way to go personally, rather than having it in the bag. The setup's quicker and easier when you get there. You can almost use it as like a walking stick. It's light enough for my boy to carry, or my daughter, or my other boy, all three of my kids. And it gives them something to do. Like they feel like it's a cool thing. It conceals their movement. It adds to the hunt. I think it's a great concept overall.
Well, and to your point, there's a time and a place for everything. And I'm not against your 4-sided blinds with a roof, especially with kids and, a long deer hunter or whatever. But whether you're deer hunting or turkey hunting, you're not always setting that blind up in the right spot. And you might be going in and you got the wrong wind. You might want to teach your kid, hey, we can also get out of here and go run and gun a little bit, especially as they get a little older and more experienced. So you even take a Newcomb and you set it in your blind with you. And that way, if you calm turkeys or the deer are moving on another ridge today, you got an option to go set up. Yep. And, while we mentioned deer hunting with it, and a lot of people are going to look at me and they think I'm crazy, but the deer do not notice these blinds. And like, yeah, right. You take your typical blind and you set it out in the woods. Most people like to put it out a month or two ahead of time to let the animals get used to them. But you don't have to do that with a Newcomb blind. You take it in and out with you when you want to go set up, and you will have animals walking right up on you because I think it's the low profile shape and just the way it sits with a tree or bush or whatever. You can get away with a lot because these things don't see them.
Yeah, I've heard you tell me that you do a lot more for deer season than turkey season, shockingly. And the run and gun, if you're doing a ground and pound kind of, look at those terms, run and gun, ground and pound. If you're doing that kind of style of hunting, this is just another tool in your tool belt, much like you don't always need to use a saddle. Sometimes you need a tree stand. Sometimes you want to do a hang and bang versus what do they have a name for saddle hunting yet like that? A saddle? A sat? I don't know.
Probably do.
I'm not cool enough
sure
to know
there's some
this stuff.
slang terms for it that
should make
probably
that
aren't so nice, but no, hunting from the ground, I mean, that's where it all started, right?
Yeah, and so having that concealment, like I hunted from the ground.
I got plenty of places I could try a Newcomb blind out and probably succeed. I mean, that one farm, I don't have a whole lot of trees. If I hunt those same 3 trees, those deer know
You're
that,
right.
There's enough human scent around them
Yep.
where having a blind like that, be able to move to the field edge, into the cattails off the field, into the little patch of oaks or whatever, I can move wherever I want.
Pretty bad luck with the traditional blind.
Yeah,
I think something like this might actually serve you really well.
Yeah, it would, because I'm not worried about tagging my limbs on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And making it sound like there's a big explosion in the
back on a little coat syndrome in that thing.
Yeah.
You got some room, but that concealing of movement, or even having the ability to draw back. If you got your bow, you can do that without drawing attention to yourself.
Yep.
I mean, these are all the benefits of a blind, and then some. The fact, Pat, that you mentioned you could bring it with you in your traditional blind, so you have a backup plan for if the birds flank you in some way, shape, or form. Like you can go make turkeys. From what I've learned from Matt Strime, aren't, and this is probably more common knowledge. I'm just sharing where I got it from, but nature, they're not designed to come to you. They're designed for the hens to come to them. So in the case where they're not going to come all the way and you need to go make a move, I think this is a really great concept. It allows you to get away with a little bit more.
Well, and sometimes when you're turkey hunting, you don't even have to move that far. To your point, a gobbler is not designed by nature to come to the call. He is gobbling to get the hens to come to him. So sometimes once you've been stubborn with him and you're not moving, and he decides to close that gap, you hear it all the time. You hear people say, I had him, but he was at 80 yards. He was at 90 yards. That bird wouldn't close in. Sometimes all it takes is you grabbing the blind. You don't have to break it down at this point because it's a stake-free blind. So you don't have to stake it down. So you grab it, you move over 20 feet sometimes. You just let that gobbler know that you're real because you moved places. And a lot of times that'll make him close that gap and get him in shooting range for you. So don't think of it just for when you got to run and gun. It's also when you're sitting on the ground and that bird hammers off behind you and you've got a kid or you even just by yourself with you, you're not set up pointed back behind you. So you can grab that blind, throw it around the tree, and now you've got a second where you can get set up and you're not worried about moving as much because you've got that blind protecting you. So it gives you a lot of different options, not just your typical break it down in 3 seconds, run and gun. It's also very mobile while you're sitting in one place.
Yeah. Do you, speaking of not being able to, or not necessarily staking it down, do you have stakes, and would you recommend staking it down in certain scenarios? Or are you trying to like face into the wind? Like, are you afraid this thing's going to blow away like a sail at any point?
I'm not going to sit here and tell you it won't blow off because I've had it blow over or whatnot. But in your typical hunting conditions, most of the time the ground foliage, leaves, grass you're sitting and everything else holds it just fine. It's really only when that wind is coming, a heavy wind from behind it's when it's going to blow.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even carry stakes with me because it happens that few times when I'm hunting. And if that ever happens, I'll grab a stick or something laying by and I'll throw it on the edge of the blind, and that's enough to hold it. Because most of the time when the wind blows, it sits still. And if you're facing into the wind, like you mentioned, it's not going anywhere.
How many years has this been around? When did this come to market?
So we launched it was 4 years ago this year. So we're just 4 years in.
So 2021. So it's kind of in the midst of the COVID era stuff. What
Yeah,
led
doing all my prototyping and designs during COVID, so that was a challenge within itself. But we all went through that, and we just did it a different way.
Now we're dealing with a whole different onset of issues, but you've had your like run of it here, because when I know when I was talking with you at ATA, you were talking about, I mean, where you're from, you being a Southern boy, as you mentioned, you were right in the heart of that hurricane that came through last year. Is that right?
Yeah. So my home is actually Asheville, North Carolina, and that's one of the hardest hit areas is here in Western North Carolina. And I own a tree company as well, so I was on the front line of it. As soon as it happened, we were out there and getting our equipment out of the shop, and that it's a storm that has devastated this area, but we're rebuilding the best we can. And if I could get into a lot of detail about a lot of topics on that, it's a mess, and it's going to take a lot to clean this place up.
Yeah. What do you wish people that are listening that aren't from the area, what do you wish they understood about what'll happen there? And like, just from the holistically, but then also as a business owner, like how, when that happened, you and I were working together a little bit. I was like, are you okay? Like, are you shipping out product? Like, how are you going to navigate this? I was worried for you, man. I was like, shit.
Well, for a couple of businesses running, they were in completely different spectrums, because Newcomb Hunting, we lost internet, we lost power, our cell phones didn't work for a couple of weeks. So there was no such thing as trying to ship blinds to people or even think about Newcomb Hunting, because we couldn't. And I was on the tree service end of my life. I was back in the saddle per se, and I was out with my crews cutting trees. We were going anywhere from cutting state roads open to taking, getting people out of their houses. You name it, we did it in the storm, and we were working about 20 hours a day. So there was, depending on which business we're talking, it was two completely opposite things that we had to do. I mean, one of them I had to ignore, and it's hard to ignore Newcomb Hunting in the month of October, because that is one of our busiest months of the year getting ready for deer season. But it's understood by most. And if I could tell anybody something about the hurricane, I want to first say, thank you to everybody that sent supplies, whether it was directly to us or to Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, because everything that came in really helped out. And, the first truckload of water I got was literally eaten up out of the back of my truck within 10 minutes. And it was the little things that people thought this might not help really helped our area more than you would know. And, we're out there on the front line. We didn't even see a power truck for the first 5 or 6 days. And as far as my company, we're very fortunate. We're a good-sized tree company in Nashville, so we have our own fuel tanks and everything at our shop. So we were able to operate. Once I got all my guys and employees in, just finding them was a fight at the beginning. But just thank you to everybody. And as far as our area now, we're rebuilding, and it's unfortunate that the hardest hit areas are some of the poorer areas in town. So I don't know what's going to happen with those areas, and that's where our warehouse is located, in one of those hard hit zones. But it still looks like it kind of did right after it happened. So it's getting cleaned up, but it's very slow in a lot of places.
It's fascinating how fast people that aren't central to these things that happen can forget about them. I know Bill Thompson with Spartan Forge had done a little bit too with some of the relief efforts and trying to raise money through his app and showing spots on the map and things like that with the satellite coverage. And that's really, every little bit, like you said, can help. Is there God, what's the question I was going to ask? How long ago was that?
It was October, so it's just a little over 6 months ago.
It feels longer for someone like that isn't there. When
It
you're not
does.
inside, it's weird. So you guys are still, you say you're rebuilding, and the town where your warehouse is, it still looks like it just happened. That's crazy.
And we still have roads that are missing bridges, and traffic, it still takes an hour to get around town because so many roads are closed. Just to give you an idea of the devastation to a very small sense, where we live, our personal residence is up on a hill, and we have a shared driveway with two other houses. And there's a small creek that you could walk over in your flip-flops and never get your feet dirty or wet at all on a daily basis. That same creek was 20 feet wide and 30 feet deep 2 days before the hurricane got here and washed out our entire road. So what the difference was, and yes, I will never look at another natural disaster anywhere the same, because now that we've been through one, they're different. But the difference is, if you want to make a difference that happened to Western North Carolina, is we live in the mountains and we're not prepared for flooding. We don't get flooding. We don't have flood insurance. It doesn't exist. So when you start having rivers overflow and literally wipe out the whole parts of town, and flood hundreds of homes, there's stories around here that people have told about getting rescued out of their attics and all this different stuff because how fast the water rose, and nobody was expecting it. I want to share a quick one with you. The second day of the storm, we're meeting at a church because it was near the house, and we were all working on this end of town, so we left our equipment out here and easy to get to. One of my employees comes up to me at 6 o'clock that morning, and he says, "Boss man, you got any 32 britches?" And I said, "Does it look like I wear a 32 pant?"
Pretty fit, I don't know.
And we kind of left it at that for a minute because just chaos and work kind of got busy. And later on that day, I asked him, I said, "Hey, what do you need? What do you need some pants for?" He said, "Well, my father-in-law." I said, "What's going on with him?" He said, "Well, he woke up the other night and he felt like he was in an airplane, like he was moving, but he wasn't." And I said, "Okay." And he said, and then he realized he was in his house, but he was floating down the middle of the river.
Oh boy.
Holy shit.
Exactly. And I said, "Well, so what did he do?" He said, "Like anybody do. He grabbed 2 couch cushions and jumped in." I said, "Well, first off, that's not what anybody would do, but okay." And when he got out of the river, they figured out he was about 9 miles from where he started.
Wow.
So exactly, lucky to be alive. But throughout that storm, you heard story after story after story that would just absolutely, you thought people were making it up the way they came about, and it's just real life. And we're rebuilding, and the Army Corps came in here and they're cleaning up the rivers, and that's really helping, and roads are getting rebuilt, and this town's going to come back together. But it's the people here and the community that really kept it together to begin with, aside from the half of them that a week or two later got their power back and might have went back to normal life. For the majority of it, we had a lot of help right here in our community, and it really brought you closer to your neighbors that you never even knew.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to hear that kind of stuff for folks that aren't there, with all the divide and the echo chambers in the world, that like when shit goes south and hell in a handbag, like you just have each other and you come to rely and depend on each other. And if I recall, didn't you say your kids were like, were they making cookies for the community? What were they doing?
So my kids, I've got 25 employees that work for me. So my brother, luckily, all the roads were kind of closed coming into Asheville right afterwards, and we didn't have cell phone service. But one of the guys that worked for me, I had his cell phone, and there was a place I had to go fill my in-laws' generator up every day because they're handicapped. So every time I went out there, I could take a drive and I could get cell phone service. So my brother was able to man a route up here. And within 2 days of the storm, he brought a big truckload of food and water and supplies for us. And then the next day he came back with all the stuff we needed for work and the generators to send home with the guys and just the stuff to be able to make my guys' families live while they're working. And I had guys with trees on their houses that were still working for us, just knowing they wanted to help out. But because of that, we had all these employees and there's no restaurants, there's no gas stations, there's nothing open. So my wife, Robin, and both my kids would wake up every single morning, and before I left at daylight, they were prepping food and getting it ready. And then they would come, I'd tell them where we'd be, and they'd come with breakfast and lunch every single day and feed all my guys and usually show back up with dinner. And so they were cooking as much as they could and giving it out. And then after they brought it to us during the day, they were going to find, churches and everything else that they could help out with. So for my kids, they lived a completely different storm than a lot of kids in our area. I know a lot of parents that told us that they tried to shelter their kids and they didn't want to show them the devastation. But I was on the other side of that. And I think it's good for kids to see what kind of happened. And, there's no hiding God, and there's no hiding what happened. And why should you when this is the same group of kids that already went through COVID and they've already done all this, and, let them learn from it and let them see what it takes to survive when something like this happens. And Dad's no longer the crazy guy when I've got 10 propane tanks and 5 fuel jugs in the garage. You're learning.
Oh, that's a good one right
You
there.
gotta keep stock, man.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. And I remember our conversation, like I'd mentioned, that I appreciate the way you have and hold conversations is quite different than a lot of people in today's age, for whatever that's worth. And that's maybe something to say about the hunting community in general. I think we bond pretty heavily, pretty quickly, pretty deeply over a shared interest and a common bond of what we like to enjoy outdoors. But hearing some of that stuff I kind of rocks you to the core a little bit. I mean, we're in Wisconsin. We don't have a lot of that stuff going on here, much like you hadn't ever had that going on in your area either.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, there was like some crazy, like record-breaking tornadoes that were supposed to be coming through. And it was like, are we going to go sleep in the basement tonight? That kind of stuff. And I don't know what would happen if it ever got so bad. I hope and pray that we never go through something like what you had gone through. But as a business owner of 2 businesses, like navigating that and knowing that your warehouse is getting, flooded and wrecked, it's like that could take some people out. Like that would be enough to kill most businesses. But 6 months later, we're on a podcast talking to you, Pat. Like that's pretty special. And it seems like you're doing pretty damn good. And gosh, I'm willing to bet it has something to do with the fact that you're a pretty good person. And not because you are pontificating being a good person. I think it's just part of your values. You mentioned like you can't hide God. God's a part of it. And there's something to, you're not Amazon. You're not going to get, the product the next freaking minute. And you're a real person doing real things with the real idea that you're bringing to life. That's something that I think is to be celebrated. It's hard. Business is like really, really hard. And bringing a product to market is also really, really hard. Not to mention, there's bigger players out there, bigger fish. They could just gobble some of us up. Like it's
It is, but as far as a whole, and I didn't know this before I started working in the hunting industry, and you know it as well. As a whole, this industry is made up of so many little guys. There's your big companies. Don't get me wrong. But if you want the new and innovative stuff, most of the time you got to go to these shows and you got to see this stuff that's coming out. And it's not always your big companies doing it. But it is hard. It's hard, especially coming from cutting trees for a living and knowing how to market in a town to jumping into the hunting industry feet first and knowing nothing about it. And I knew nothing about retail, and I knew nothing about fabric, and I knew nothing about stitching and all the kind of stuff it takes to do what I'm doing. But it's worked out. It's worked out, and it's working out. And we still have a long ways to go. I mean, by no means am I sitting here saying I'm living the dream right now, because I'm working my ass off. But I'm working on it. And Glenn, we hired Glenn, and Glenn's been a big part for me of helping us as the director of Newcomb Hunting, and really getting us on a right path as far as where we need to go, because he's been in the industry so long. And we have big things coming into 25, especially into 26. So we're gonna continue to grow the brand, and we're not coming out with so much new stuff, but we got some big players coming on board and some big stuff we're gonna do here in the next years that I'm pretty excited about. And right now it's a pretty simple thing. It's a regular blind, and it's an XL blind, and then we sell the double up panel that you can make your double up system out of. But it's all built off that core of light, easy, mobile, that anybody can hunt with. And that's what we're going to try to keep the company. But we're starting to make some pretty cool stuff, and people like the hats and the apparel, and we're starting to get that going. And we're going to grow it where we can, and we're going to have a lot of fun while we're doing it.
Yeah, and your patterns though too. You have a lot of different, like you got two right behind you on screen. For anybody that's listening on Spotify, you can flip to video mode when this is live in podcast land. Anybody watching live can see it, and anybody on YouTube watching can see it. But like you have one that looks like it's got a bit of a ghillie suit on it with some leafy material. The other one's more of like a bottomland camo. You have some Aussie oak patterns, like I don't know.
So we're exclusively in Aussie oak now, and the flat panel is the obsession, and we also have that in the habitat for your waterfowl hunters, because the double up system makes a panel blind if you want to have that kind of hunt. But the leafies have really taken off, which is a 3D leafy, like you mentioned, like a ghillie suit would be. We came out with those, I don't know, a little over a year ago, and they're the ticket, especially in the whitetail woods. That really fools the whitetail's eye. But the 3D effect just makes our blinds absolutely disappear. And we have those in 3 different patterns as well. We have it in the green leaf, the obsession leafy, and mossy oak's new pattern, the country roots. So we got it, whether you like spring, fall, we got the pattern for you.
Yeah, disappear is a good word there, because it adds, it's already a bit 3-dimensional or whatever, and then you 4-dimensional. What am I? Forget me. But then you add that leafiness. It's like, holy shit! Yeah, it really gets kind of lost. I mean, if you haven't followed these guys on Instagram, I mean, certainly do if you're listening, and you can kind of see this in its natural habitat in use. I imagine you're getting tagged in a lot of videos right now too, or like photos of people tagging birds. It's got to be like, are you getting people sharing a ton of stories with you? You got so many really good stories you can share, whether your own or others?
I do have one I'll share, but yeah, we're getting tagged a lot right now. We're actually doing a giveaway 8 weeks during turkey season. So anybody listening, you don't have to have a Nukem Hunting Blind to enter. We want to see your setups, and we want to see your kills. And we're doing giveaways on a weekly basis, not just our brands, but several other different brands of guys I know in the hunting industry. We've got a lot of their hunting stuff and apparel that we're giving away. So all you have to do is tag Nukem Hunting on Instagram, and you're entered with your setups of your birds. But I'll tell you a quick story. I was at a trade show, the last one I did last week of March, and one of these companies that they do the gun giveaways, like every 80 tickets they sell a gun, and this company, I forget the name of it, excuse me, but it all goes back to the kids, and he does nothing but work with the kids. All the money that they raise is for kids' hunts. It's for getting kids in the outdoors, and it's just a fabulous thing. And ever since I met him, I've always worked with him. I've always bought raffle tickets from him. I've always donated blinds to him, and it's a piece of my heart, because I love hunting with kids, and I love getting people in the outdoors. That you don't have to be 10 years old to learn how to hunt. If you're 30 and you want to learn how to hunt, I'd love to share some advice or talk with you about it. Whatever advice I can give you, I don't have a lot, but I'll try. But he said a gold kid was coming in, and that basically means that his father was lost in service, and he was coming in to hunt with them the next day. And one of the call companies was there, and he was taking them out, and they asked me if I'd donate a blind. So I did. Well, 12 hours later, we're at the trade show, and they can't wait to tell me the story, because they've already been out hunting Saturday morning. and the kid is sitting there, and the bird's coming in just hot, gobbling every step that they made it sound like, and it's at 30 yards, and the young man looks over and he says, "Can somebody hold my gun?" And they're like, "What?" And he hands the gun to him while he turns over and starts throwing up. So he was so nervous, he got worked up. He started puking because he was so nervous the bird's coming in. So he gets done puking, gets the gun back in his hand, and then he busts the turkey. So it wasn't a hunt that I was on, but it was a pretty special one that we were somewhat involved with, and I thought it was awesome. And that's what it's about. It's about getting people in the outdoors.
It really is. Great. Have you done some mentored turkey hunts?
No, I've been asked multiple times. I just haven't been able to work it with my work schedule and things, but I've had.
I thought you had done some in the past. Maybe it was whitetail.
Did deer and
I was working during turkey season.
Yeah. Well, in a perfect world, that would be nice, but we don't live in a perfect world. At least I don't.
I know.
So you're coming to Wisconsin soon for a turkey camp. What describe your, because we're doing one, and sadly we're not the same one. I don't know how I missed that high five. It's my fault. Maybe we'll cross paths. We might be able to. We'll see. But what's your turkey camp like?
So I got invited on it last year. Josh invited me up, and it's at a campground. It's about an hour from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and we're hunting game lands. And I knew nothing about it last year. I didn't know what I was getting into. I took my camper up, and there was only 4 of us in camp last year. I think there's gonna be 8 this year, but it's run and gun in the game lands, and it's every man for himself, and you go find the birds. And we had a real good time last year. We were there the last week of the season, and the birds were, oh my gosh, they were skittish. You could be driving down a dirt road and see a bird at 600 yards, and as soon as he saw that truck, he was taking off into the woods. But
really, and that's around middle same period, because like Wisconsin has periods, right? You get it sounds like period. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, towards the end.
Yeah, there's a chance we're not going to be each other. There's a chance. If you're near Eau Claire, we're going to be. Greg, tell us where we're going to be, because I actually don't know.
We're going to say La Crosse, and that's we're going to be south of La Crosse, and that's all people need to know.
So Eau Claire and La Crosse aren't that far from each other, right?
They're far enough.
I wonder how far.
We'll discuss it.
You're all the bird I'm working in, probably, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Could you imagine? I mean, if nothing else, like on the way out on Sunday, or I don't know when you guys are heading back up, but if there's an opportunity to line up for like a big old lunch or something, or some beers at a pub on the way out or way up or something, that'd be pretty cool if we could line that up.
Yeah, we definitely should try to. We're actually running over to Michigan and hunting on the way up. We're going to hunt a couple days, and then head over. But
when are you guys? What's your ETA on getting into Wisconsin, into camp? Do you know?
14th that evening.
14th. Okay. Well, yeah, we're thinking some of us, it sounds like some might want to try to head up earlier, like the 15th, but it sounds like most of us will probably head up on the 16th. So if I don't know if Eau Claire is on the way to La Crosse, or I think it's
no,
I think
it's not.
It's not. Isn't La Crosse like the very edge of the state?
Mm-hmm.
So then is Eau Claire?
Eau Claire is about an hour and a half, 2 hours north of there, depending on which way you go.
Okay. We'll see if we can figure something out.
Yeah, we'll drop you a pin and we'll figure out how far apart we are.
Yeah. I don't know how far we're going to go out from our camp, or where we're going to be at. I imagine maybe we'll do some
details. You'll have the whole podcast there with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
Shut up, Eric.
Well, I mean, whatever. I don't we're not the hunting public. We're not going to ruin everyone's spots. We're not going to overcrowd an area. I don't even know if we're hunting public land. I don't even know if Greg has all the details here.
There's options to do that.
Listen, this guy, he's like so cryptic right now. But there's options to do that. I'm not going to tell you where it is.
No, it's not saying not right now.
I'm really enjoying it.
Pretty good groups when you go. A couple of you go together. How do you guys work it?
First time doing a turkey camp. It just kind of materialized.
I think it'll be like groups of 2 or whatever. I mean, we got Keegan the cameraman, and maybe another. It sounded like you might have somebody else lined up to do camera work too. So maybe, but if there's four of us up there, and cameraman can't divide himself in half. So
Keegan's pretty good. You never know.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
never know, Keegan. He could just bounce
I know.
around.
He's handed us some gear. Here, this is what you do. Press the button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a great job on the Oregon hunt. That's turned out pretty darn good.
Mhm.
So when we were leaving that hunt last year, we kind of got our butts kicked, and I missed a bird, and Josh had killed a bird real early, and Bobby hadn't even killed a bird yet. So we were kind of on the last day, and Bobby was still out hunting. I had a 12-hour drive that I had to get back for. I told my daughter I'd be back for her big soccer tournament that weekend. So
Good for you.
I got
That's good to hear that you're doing that kind of stuff. That's a big deal.
family first. If I can help it, I'm gonna schedule everything around them. But obviously, you missed some of it. But I had everything loaded up. I was changed clothes. I'd taken a shower. I was ready to go, and I looked at my watch. I said, "You know what? I got about an hour and a half till I have to leave. So I'm gonna see if I can't go get on a bird real quick." And we'd hunted the last 4 days hard, and we got on them. But when you're out in an area like that, it was more learning the area as much as it is hunting the first day or two.
Yeah.
So Glenn and Josh, I think, had already hit the road, and Bobby was, meantime, I didn't know it, but he was knocking doors and ended up killing a bird on his own in the last hour. So I parked at these game lands, and I just jumped on my e-bike, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to ride around and yelp a little bit and hit a couple of these spots and see if I can work a bird. So I'm going up through there, and I hit every spot I can pull off where I thought there might be birds. And I got to the last one, and I said, you know what? I got to get back to the truck in about a half hour to be able to give myself enough time to get home. So I sat down, and that was the end of my turkey season last year. And I sat up against a tree, and I just, sat there and kind of reminisced for about 10 minutes to myself, and, thanked the Lord for a good season, and went through like everything I had. And I said, you know what? It's been a good one. I got skunked in Wisconsin, and it sucks. We are eating tag soup, but we're going home. And now I'm riding that same trail back, and I'm just kind of soft yelping, just on my bike, going real slow, just kind of giving a little turkey sound here and there. And I make it to the very last curve before my truck, and this bird hammers. I mean, he gobbled so loud, he had to have been 20 yards from me, it felt like. So I knew I had to make it quick, and I had my daughter's little 410 across my back on the bike, and I threw the bike in the ditch. I grabbed the 410, and I sat down. And when I shot that bird, the wheel was still spinning against my back.
What? That's awesome. So those e-bikes pretty quiet then, or what? Like, is that what's they're just not making much noise?
I think what it was is I had yelped all the way up through there locating, and he probably heard me on my first pass through, and now I'm coming back 20 minutes later, and he was looking for me, and when he heard those soft clucks on the bike, I think he was wanting to let me know where I was at. And luckily I threw it in the ditch and got off of it as quick as I did, because that bird was on top of me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a pretty fun way to get it done. The birds behind you on that mount with the tree, that's a really impressive like display you got going on there. How did you decide you're going to do that? Did you just keep adding turkeys to that as you go, or what?
So that's a single year, actually. That's the World Slam. So
I see. It looks like a slam.
Yeah, so you got one of every species on there. The hunt itself kind of organically came together just from doing all the trade shows and talking to people, and, hey, do you want to go on this hunt? Do you want to go on this hunt? And I kind of started, next thing you know, I had all these hunts lined up, and we might as well do it in a season. I actually didn't do it all in one season. I did the Royal Slam, which is all of them minus the oscillated in a single turkey season. But in a full calendar year, I had went back and got the oscillated in Mexico. So it was pretty special, and I wanted to make a really cool mount out of it. And I hadn't seen anything quite like it. And I worked with David McCullough up in Indianapolis and designed it. And he put it together without even really, I gave him ideas. I told him I wanted it to be a surprise, and he did a really good job with it.
That's cool. Is the tree, like, because you work for a tree removal company, is that a legit tree, or is that like some foam thing also?
Yeah, he made it. It's not a real one.
It looks legit from here.
It does. It looks real realistic. Him and his wife did a great job with it, and it's just one of those things that I didn't want a real tree. I didn't want to have to deal with the mess if I want to move it. And
yeah.
If you dealt with real trees as much as I did, you don't want them in your house either.
Be pretty heavy, I suppose.
Bugs and everything else that come crawling out of them.
But I picked that mount up at a trade show in February when I was in Indianapolis, and I had to figure out how to get all that in my truck and my trailer with all my stuff, and it was interesting. I had to reach
Yeah,
back.
it's super fragile. You're like, what am I going to do here? Throwing a mount in a trailer with other gear is never, who knows what kind of hills and turns and dips and all that stuff you're going to be taking. Even just throwing deer mounts in the trailer, I'm like, I don't like this, but it is what it is. We all do it. You're going to trade shows anyways.
But it was pretty special. It got me to. I never traveled a lot for turkey hunting before Newcomb hunting. I hunted all the states around me. I'm only about 20 minutes from Tennessee, so I grew up hunting North Carolina and Tennessee and South Carolina and that kind of stuff. But I was never the traveling turkey hunter that I've turned out to be today. And there's such an addiction to it. I know you guys are more into your whitetail hunting than turkey hunting, but something about being able to go out and get in the middle of a piece of property you've never seen before and be able to, chase an animal and come away with a gobbler same day or next day in a couple day period. You can't usually do that with a mature buck as easy as you can a whitetail. I mean, as far as you can a turkey. So that's the drive, and I think that's what's got people doing all these 49 states and that kind of stuff nowadays, because it is addicting.
It's pretty cool. What state stands out to you in your mind and why? Like, I'm not going to ask you if you have a favorite because I think that's a bullshit question, but like, is there anything that like sticks out as like, man, I really like the culture or this restaurant or the terrain or the smell of the vegetation there was? What stands out to you in which state and why?
South Dakota. So I've whitetail hunted and I've turkey hunted in South Dakota. And if I had to pick a state, I'm not your state traveler. I haven't killed in 40 states. I've done a lot, but not that many. I mean, but South Dakota, I've hunted in the mountains, in the Black Hills, and I've also hunted kind of out on the reservation, and just the difference in terrain, but everything about it. When you're out there like we were on the Rosebud Reservation, and it's real grassy and you can see miles, which I don't get that here. We see views for miles and mountains for miles, but you can't spot a bird a half mile away here. And then all the bottoms were wooded. And then you go to the Black Hills and it's mountainous hunting, and it's just the state in general. And I've pheasant hunted out there. It's beautiful. I would never talk my wife into living there by no means, but it's definitely a state I want to go back and hunt again, because whether it was whitetail or turkey, I enjoyed it.
You been there, Greg?
Not to hunt.
What'd you do when you were there? You've done some pretty cool vacations.
Family vacation.
Yeah.
Just wandered around. It was, summer, so.
You want to hunt?
Well, yeah. There's always a want.
We always got a different eye towards things when we're on vacation as hunters.
Got to have time, though, and if it means family vacation time and not hunting time, then it's going to be family vacation time. That's the priority always. So
call that a scouting mission.
Yeah. There's opportunity everywhere. You just got to take advantage of it and have the time.
Yeah. Can you mule deer hunt there?
You can in South Dakota. Yeah. I mean, there's places to mule deer hunt, but they're fewer and farther between than what they used to be.
Yeah. So whitetail would be more preferred. Yeah, the turkey thing's interesting. It's starting to click a little bit more for me. Not the ability to successfully turkey hunt. I mean, the concept of turkey hunting. It's starting to like click a little bit more. And some folks have challenged me a little bit. Like, I'm still not as hyped about it as whitetail, but I can see the allure a little bit clearer as of late. I've started to understand a little bit more of it. It's pretty neat. Paul's podcast helps too. It's pretty neat to hear how he's talking about it. Have you listened to his? Have you listened to Turkey Season?
Yeah, I've listened to every episode that he's ever put on. I love Paul. Love his podcast. He does a great job with it, and I meet up with turkey hunting, so it's my thing. I can't get enough turkey hunting podcasts. I love it.
That's cool. That's good to hear. There's a handful of turkey podcasts out there. There's not that many. There's not as many as hunting, like deer hunting podcasts, or like I don't.
There's some good ones, but the way he runs his, he gets a lot of people on there that are so informative, but then you also get into turkey hunting stories. So it's educational, it's fun. When you quit learning about the wild turkey and you think you've got them mastered, I know you're wrong, because they're going to teach you something every single day. And if you
Yeah.
can't take something away from a story that somebody else tells, whether it's an avid hunter that's out there in the field every day or somebody that's hunted for a week, you can learn from both of them, because the wild turkey will stump you time and time again. We had one absolutely beat us to death today. I cannot wait. I got to get back to work tomorrow, but I'll go back to him on Thursday morning. And he just outsmarted me. And they do that. And that's what I think the drive for it is so deep with me, is it's a bird with such a small brain, and they're stupid as can be one day. And people say, yeah, you want to hunt a turkey? Come hunt my house. They're all over the place. They're that kind of dumb, beating up your car door. But when you go out in the field with them, you call them to you, or you get out there in their area, it's a completely different bird, and they're going to outsmart you more times than you're going to outsmart them.
Yeah. At what point does the gobble go from this like awesome mythical sound you're hearing that's getting you fired up to you hate the gobble because you're like, oh, you piece of shit, you really got me good. I don't mean you hate it, like you don't genuinely hate it, but it's like the beginning of the day. It's a sound of promise. The end of the day, if you've been outsmarted by the bird, it's like it's mocking you.
Well, it's always the FU gobble that he gives when he's leaving, he knows he's leaving, and he gobbles to tell you he's leaving.
Does that gobble sound different? Does it actually sound different?
It's a little quieter because he's heading away.
Exactly, yeah, because he was at 30, 40 yards.
One wing finger as he's walking away.
And that's just that last one for him to tell you, I got you this time, buddy.
The fish that gets off the hook and frickin' splashes anyways at the end. It's like, that was a fuck you splash.
Yeah, he's giving you the fin as he swims away.
It's just like the whitetail. They take a couple bounds and they blow at you and then run off. Miss me.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have your own addiction to all of it. And don't get me wrong, I love whitetail hunting, but only because it's not turkey season.
Oh, interesting. See, so if Matt were here, he was on the show last week. I think that was last week. We drank the chicken cock white double oak bourbon over here. He's a musky guy. And so I think he's got to battle that. And then we got Tyler, who does the Up Duck podcast. And he's like, ooh, it's duck hunting season. I'm like, what is with you guys? Fishing and duck hunting instead of killing a deer? You got to be kidding me. Now, you can kill turkeys in the fall. I've bought tags. I've never done it.
I've shot one.
I can't imagine it's anything
only
like
because
the spring.
The flock came right in close by, and I had the shotgun, and I just took care of business.
I think that's how it would go. It would just be like if it happens, you could capitalize.
It's not like spring hunt at all. You're not getting.
Well, the guys that go out and do it and they want to fall hunt, some states you use dogs. Others, you try to find the flock and then you bust the flock up on purpose.
Right.
And then once you bust the flock up, that's when you sit and call them in. So it is a completely different hunt. It's not spring turkey hunting to me. I haven't done it a whole lot, but I'll give it a try again if I ever get it around here. I haven't traveled for it. I don't have the knowledge in other areas to know where to go fall turkey hunt like I would spring turkey hunt.
Yeah, I have no knowledge. I'm really excited for this turkey camp thing, just because it sounds like there's a bunch of us going and into an area that none of us have really hunted at all, I don't think. So we're all going together, doing something new we've never done before, and could be sort of a tradition. I'm not sure. But I'm really looking forward to it. And I think we'll have, I mean, geez, I hope we hear some gobbles if nothing else, or get visuals of turkeys if nothing else. I mean, anything after that's going to be all, bonus. So not sure.
I had an old fellow tell me one time in South Carolina, we were down at Jarrett Rifles. They've got an area you can hunt down there. It's called Calvin Plantation. And we were down there turkey hunting, and there was an old guy sharing camp with us. And every night we came in, he was just the nicest older man, and he'd make dinner for me and my buddy. And after the first day, he said, yeah, I didn't get to see anything today. And then the next day, he said, I got to hear one gobble. But he said it best. He said, I'm blessed to be in the woods, and that's a good day. He said, if I hear a bird gobble, it's a great day. If I get to see a turkey, it's absolutely fantastic, and it's the best day. And he stopped right there. And my buddy Tim looked at me and said, what happens if you kill one? He said, I don't know, but it's going to be awesome.
I'll tell you when it happens. Oh, it's great. Cool. Where do people find Newcomb online? Where should we direct people to go? what patterns
So
should
our
they look
website's newcomhunting.com. That's where you can go on there and check out all the blinds and apparel and products there. But if you want to find us on social media, we are most active on Instagram. We are at Newcomb Hunting on everything. We are on Facebook and TikTok and all that. But as far as commenting and talking directly, I do a lot better with Instagram than all of it. We were talking before we got on air, and it's just so hard to keep up with everything. And then as far as on Instagram, I'm also Pat Newcomb at Newcomb Hunting on Instagram is my personal page.
What do you post on your personal? Anything worth following there? What should we expect out of that one? Some tree
Well,
stuff.
you said I'm a nice guy, so I don't know. It's pretty hunting related as well, just because that's my nature. No, there's no tree stuff on there. That's got its own page. And as far as I'm a hunter and I'm an outdoorsman, and I'll slip some family stuff in there a little bit, but for the most part, I keep my social media for business. I never even had it before Newcomb Hunting, and I don't take a whole lot of pleasure in social media outside of the hunting world, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a beast that'll eat as much as you can feed it, which it can get fatiguing and exhausting at times. So it's one of those things that I don't know. It's a great thing. It's a great tool as a business owner to have the ability to get free marketing, because as long as you're willing to post, the share of an audience is going to see it. And it's not going to cost anything but your time to do it, short of doing ad spend and all the other stuff that Glenn's probably running for you over there. But yeah, some days you're like, I don't want to post today, and you don't have to.
And people can reach out to me directly. I get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of questions. Sometimes people just want to call and tell me a story, so I'm okay with that too. I had a young man that I met in a parking lot, and I hand delivered him a blind about a month ago, and he'd never turkey hunted a day in his life, and he'd heard me on another podcast talking, and he decided to go try it. And I gave him a few pointers and looked at some maps with him, and to his luck, the first time out, he killed a turkey with a bow. So he was calling me. I was in the woods talking to him that day because he was pumped, and that's what I like.
That's cool.
That's what I like. I like whether I'm at a trade show or somebody posts or somebody calls me and they want to tell me how badass the blind is and how it helped them today. And that's what I'm in this for, more than I'm in it for selling the blinds. I'm in it to network with people and talk to people and get to know you guys. And that's what's fun, is everybody out there, whether you're buying our blinds or I'm seeing you at trade shows or Eric, we're having dinner together. That's what it's about.
You betcha. Now, thanks for making time tonight. And sounds like you're in the turkey woods earlier. You're going to get back out the day after tomorrow. It'll be Thursday. Good luck when you get back out there again. Hopefully you catch up with a bird that outsmarted you today. And if you do, I hope you send me a text picture of it. I'd like to see it.
I will.
Wish you luck. And everyone that listened, check out Newcomb. And it's I don't have to say anything else about it. You just listen to the whole episode. You get what's happening here. If you do get one, tag Newcomb. Let us know what you thought of it, how you like it, some success you had with it, some aha moments, things of that nature. It'd be really great to hear all that feedback. So I think that's all I got. I did all the housekeeping stuff in the beginning, so I don't have to do it now. We appreciate everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.